The second opportunity for mobile operators, or certainly area that they need to focus on, according to our friends at Juniper, is messaging, and in particular RCS business messaging, which we talked about a couple of weeks ago. And again, whilst we mentioned at the beginning, these SMS and voice revenues are falling, they need something to plug the gap. And really, messaging and particularly RCS seems to be a great opportunity. However, the story obviously references the fact that RCS is not without its competition. WhatsApp has got a firm grip on the business messaging world and the consumer messaging world as well. But RCS, of course, is native to all mobile phones. And so consequently, there's got to be an important role for the operators to play in helping drive this technology forward and helping aggregators and third parties make the most of it. Tell us a little bit more about this story. Juniper's research is referencing a report called Global RCS Business Messaging Market 2024 to 2029, and there's a free download on our site.
There is indeed. I think, sorry, my phone's ringing. Let me just bounce that call. It's probably an operator.
Yeah, yeah, gets a free ticket.
The, yeah. Yes, RCS, as everybody knows, particularly anyone who's watched this, we've talked about it a lot. It's been around for at least 10 years. It's sort of second generation rich messaging. It's sort of meant to replace SMS one day. And it never really got anywhere because Apple didn't buy into it. Now Apple, as of late last year, does build it into iOS 18. So, you can use it everywhere. So great. Whoosh, off we go. RCS should be everywhere. Now, indeed, we did reference this, I think, in the last vodcast, it might have been the one before, but since you do this, I've done 1 billion RCS messages worldwide. So hurrah, it is growing. But Juniper's assertion is that it's growing, but it's growing quite slowly, possibly too slowly. Now, they predict that it could take 1/5 of operator business messaging revenue. So this is just looking at using RCS for business messaging. So how businesses reach out to consumers with rich messaging, which has grown 3% in a year, which is good, but it's still quite slow, particularly following this sort of Apple sort of onboarding with it. You'd think it would explode. And it seems that what it comes down to is the fact that it's a bit late to the party, because as you say, OTT messaging, particularly WhatsApp, is already quite well established in doing rich business messaging. And as such, not only is it more widely used and more widely understood by businesses and consumers, it's also got a much bigger, easier base on which to build and roll out new services. So it's much more agile. RCS is still quite new, quite nascent, particularly sort of the Apple side of it. So it's a bit slow to get going. And what it comes down to really is pricing. The only way RCS is going to get anywhere is if they price it so that it undercuts OTT messaging. Now, that's not really something operators like to do. I don't think they've spent a lot of time and money investing in this, and it's a huge market, the rich business sort of messaging market. But the only way to really get anywhere is to actually sell it cheap, to build up that user base, to get people using it, and then to turn it into something more profitable. Now, as we said in the carrier billing story, the same applies here. Operators are losing money in messaging and voice. So traditional SMS is volumes are falling, costs are rising, fraud's a problem. RCS possibly can save them from that. And again, like carrier billing, they need to be much more engaged in looking at how to leverage this more effectively. I think with carrier billing, they need to be much more front and center with content distribution to get it in front of people. With RCS, they need to just start selling it more cheaply than OTT messaging, and really pushing it at businesses and showing what it can do. And of course, you can build DCB into RCS. So that's another sort of incentive. So it's interesting. Both these reports, both totally separately done, both kind of like point at operators going, this is up to you guys. The thing that's holding this back now is you. Your time has come.
Yeah. Well, and then interestingly, that you raised the point of pricing, which of course, that does kind of go against the grain. It's got to come down. But the other issue, of course, is that the operators have all got to work together. And
Yeah.
traditionally, that ain't something that they do particularly willingly. So I think we have to watch that space. I mean, my gut feeling is that there's probably more opportunities for them to capitalize on the DCB opportunity than the RCS opportunity, given that, yes, whilst there are alternative payment mechanisms competing with DCB, most aggregators can offer a range of different payment mechanisms at checkout to maximize their engagement. That's something the telemedia industry does very well.
Mm,
I think
mm.
content sales will continue to go up, and therefore DCB revenues are likely to become ever more attractive. I feel like with the RCS thing, it's the cultural change, the issues with WhatsApp. I think that makes, I don't see that 3% getting a lot bigger unless something really dramatic changes. But let's see. And anyone that continues to watch our podcasts will know that we will continue to follow the progress of RCS and hopefully come up with some good anecdotal examples of where operators are actually embracing it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think in Germany we've seen they did do they've done sort of ticketing experiments with RCS and things. I think the market there the German sort of telcos have become quite good at working together on various things, carrier billing and RCS. I think that getting that sort of user case going will help show this. I think someone needs to just come up with a really hot use case for RCS, particularly one that's got a sort of international sort of appeal. And I think then it might start to really take off. But I think at the moment, a lot of businesses look at it and think, well, we could spend more money on messaging to do RCS as well. But why? Because we can already do it with OTT.
Yeah,
But
no, I agree.
it needs to be made more compelling, and something will come along. Someone will do something, and we'll all go, "Oh yeah, that's it."
Well, now, and of course, it's important to remember that not only are margins getting squeezed, but also the need for operators to generate huge profits to
Mm.
fund what was in the news this week, which was the first 6G trials.
Yes,
I mean, I
yes,
still haven't got 5G, but 6G is around the corner. They're going to be under a
yeah.
lot of pressure to pay for that. And so these profit centers are vitally important for them to maximize because they've got some big
Mm.
bills coming around the
I
corner.
think as well, interestingly on that, I think they spent so much money on 5G and have seen so little return on it because basically, like you say, you're not using it most of the time here in the UK. You're not using it, even if you want to. I think they might be sort of a bit more circumspect about how much they spend on 6G because I think it's got to deliver something like really fantastic for them to put that kind of money in. I think that we're going to see telcos focus more on these kind of things, like the services, and the billing and those kind of things. Because I think
Sure,
it's better. It's a better use of their time until
sure.
you
There's also another story hot off the press you mentioned earlier with regards to RCS. Do you want to talk us through that one as well?
which one's that.
The additional RCS story.
Oh, I was just no, it was just one that I was referring to, one that we covered previously about Cinch was
Oh,
that we did the other week. I was talking to you before we went live, saying
oh, fine.
I'd also worked that into it because they while Juniper saying growth is quite slow, Cinch are being much more kind of bullish because they breached 1 billion messages and they see quite rightly sort of there is huge growth potential in there. I was just trying to counter the slightly negative side of the June one to say that we have actually mentioned before that RCS is on the up.